begin our discussion on the lands where Nigger John and Underground Railroad Championship Dixon ran successfully lobbied for the ability of blacks to vote and testified against whites burning food to the slave fleet of Chicago and Great Migration. But how successfully was Nigger John? Why is there still gentrification, segregation in Chicago? Why are police still being for black person? Why is it more likely for black males to get shot arrested and hikes to higher education Chicago? And regardless of the debate, comment debate, vote down Joey. Joey's not the manifestation debates, blacks, not black ministry, the African reduce black to the object of the nigger. We will isolate you that this has to perform their interaction. African will always be input theoreticals and they have no relevant experience. People are done so they can never add anything to conversation. Team win. Objective today ever reduce black to the object of the I'm no black person to be Jordan had authority to tell me what they tell me that them saying I'm dead is not bad. So there's a justice to every response they make because they cannot know how their practice affects black people in the basic school. Black people call you out on their bullshit belief and they have said that black people have no value except to be active and reward for come out of black suffering. You should vote down to hold them accountable for bringing in blacks to the basics having to float there. And heat up on either 8.RT your power Africanism is true and only the ethical means now is that one that calls for the end of the world or be put into the false and you definitely should come out of black suffering for about means you shouldn't be rating in that. And absolutely you should vote down to hold them accountable for bringing in blacks to the basics of 13. What's allowed to take for granted that effective words have our decision around reflect the beliefs that we have seen the color being held at high decision art sure to our races about debates will be held accountable. We should no longer evaluate speech instead of evaluate the acts of debates will be held accountable for more than winning debates is not enough for judges to suggest they now endorse racist discourse and deal to vote for judges must vote against the debater they endorse racist discourse to vote for positive embracing that teacher a woman and until judges are comfortable enough to vote down violence in debates remain a free fight always free and necessary conference because free fight doesn't just be switching works for going reversibly or once a person right who's cannot be taken back you have already made like 2 1 I'm saying we're part of large debate community would accept on now black people makes it please don't say screenshot doc if you want. The main instruction to explore black body communication, I love playing for writing your territory and future, the slave food never heard, not push the bottom, and communicate, register, write a project of features, slave, not profit, content, people rather use the fund, the continuation of society. Black communication is always seen in the engine, starting to feature, fan paying for the main, just starving you, other than past you can never hear, slave, screen, ready 12. In around the explicitly, in believe black surfing, the logical slave cannot communicate, the etymological root of communicate is logical communication requires equal ontological status amongst the communication and voice of pain, criminalizer, or protest, or charges, trespassing as a police officer, and her use 2 seconds, to swing like down, she can rule like down, she's not too her voice can only be heard as solemnly law resisting arrest this man authority legitimate force their wrong they carried around the cell and later brought her on the ground and she already corpsed him. Why must this thing live in a high rule in order to make black to come legible to open blackness to gratuitous funds of civil society so 17. Blackness is something that is supposed to have blackness only as far white control and map and black violence why high realism thinks blackness is not logical fiction blacks men experience this that over and over again though experience the gratuitous violence security same about white high reality why this trap to blackness in location words go to blacks not the great machine where types of blacks only are saying articulated to the same amount white the white because in the center black that makes responsibility for future blacks on the fundamental to live in economy why some religions not anything challenges jobs specific from knowing understand the language we use could already contain them and each responsible contain them and each responsible to change the language of open the mind and by bonds for eyes possibly pleasure world and blacks in all political position non-human which human in this political moons of the corruptions of 18. Black Lives Matter carries a certain theory. We approach with some uncertainty, exhaustion, the metaphysical infrastructure, condition, our world, kill like life, life being with an end of black world. These questions lead to theory. Black Lives Matter, all total morality, human variety, anger for declaration. Black Lives must all. Well, master, if the black is human, do the affirm the declaration undermine the uncultural ground, traces back to the Negro Christians, the question remarriage with the world over black church art, fracture, routinize, ritualize the global principle. Humanism will share a solution, bright future with black lives. So they say we're almost here. And the black precondition for the world is solutions. This is like putting hope in animal destruction, causing cruel authors. Although we're not a literal plantation, child changed the name from Jim Crow and presidential copy the police retaliate, but the world's not progressing. The structure and the same spot they change in name, endorsing all authoritarian interrogates black citizens in war 18. It was my knowledge responsibility that there is no solution and the blacks will continue as long as the world is a solution wide and the blacks enter into a torture cycle that will reproduce more pain and human effect provide temporary repride effect the blacks are not safe to form and the blacks by ultimately and the blacks still also remain a constant these solutions are credible why have they failed if we are prepared to why the blacks are being slaughtered people who respond to things are despite that increasing that total power to place saving life of conviction rich relief to prison industrial communism reinstate them now entire genocide solution make us hopeful pressing it on social question press terror on social interrogation the question of form terror producing the politics recognition necessity exclusive blacks liberal inclusion is possible when the blacks seeing black nothing in the more than an issue let's do short 18. Blacks remain a floating body. The floating bodies in algebra sign nothing floats without how the resistance acts outside the world means that one of the blacks is a life meaning feature. Blacks bar being apart from a cartograph is a literally the same way to free back to salute from state to human secure only the bonds contrary to African repulsory urge really this content with the same for the contribute to the increase in the free black population danger objective is to get rid of them feeding blacks with jargon compatible to change modification between auto and human defines the function of black being nation or the injury short skip the well this one with the card. Does it take to impossible based on ontological terror? Our evidence indicate no black liberation happens to the best deal talking about only by understanding blacks function of benefits and ethnicity discussion of black system war 18. Philosophical force were included by humanism, most metaphysics to reproduce pain, black humanism, post metaphysics. Leave the question of being unattainable. Both discourse could see that the question of being how to settle ontological terror seems to be no puts the question back in this place. Ontological terror media some charm now relation between blacks and being black. Arguing the black and cartoon metaphysical that the terror metaphysics and the black world functions blacks to give form no nothing. Nothing the aim black and I lose will expose the rift between black black and function blacks and blacks and function ain't black world blacks and nothing becomes an alms for which option metaphysics for the black most assume the function that the world needs is metaphysics never can provide freedom human black freedom one consider world destruction probably humanism is filled on tier chain jobs to claim that black's human skip segment Warren card onto that. The role of role balance allow niggas to engage or refuse space like debates, deconstruct into blacks and accident when it comes to escape structure predicated on not being hardening more than 13 feet of planning blacks, so they are about making the cause of looking to me, that's blacks now. Who remain blacks, the only thing that we can do is tear shit down completely. We cannot be satisfied with recognition or generated by a system that denies anything was never broken. We refuse to ask for recognition. We want to dismantle, tear down like stretching the limbs of our ability to find each of the acts place we know a place that produce the unregulated wands and called the sort of path straight to refuse. We begin to right to refuse, we refuse one to refuse us the game chain and counter refuse on the common space when here's our goal are in the world I created trouble, cut the card troubles. The concept of being in cells black is delusion logic for black in the metaphysical holocaust. War 18. In the black world becoming obliterated. This is metaphysical holocaust. You consume the what holding black to do. Technology for terror, violence, objects, no world to permanent feeling. There is not the neither of it nor becoming nor is any possibility destination. State fallen. Nothing black being never becomes existent and consumed and consists black life. Blacks of blood being happy system. Yeah.
Can you send a new dog? Starting now. What is anti-blackness?
I think that any answer to that question would just like be an oversimplification of the concept of it, but we would say anti-blacks are just generally things that are anti.
Wait, what is communication?
The communication is things like communicating now.
So we're communicating right now.
Or
are you participating in communication?
I'm in a communicative sphere. Now the question if I'm able to access that is a question.
Alright, so what is the action of communication?
We don't take a specific stance on what the action of communication is.
So how do you know what you can't access if there's no stance on what it is?
Well, the whole argument is that blackness lacks the ability to articulate what communication is in the first place. So demanding me to answer like what communication is exactly what I'm unable to do.
Okay, so you explaining these things to me, or you explaining these concepts to me, do these mean that you have no ability to actually, or actually, what is a communication?
The argument is not that I can't move my mouth and have like noise come out of it. That's not the argument.
So, I know, but the question is you delaying messages to me. Actually, you know, it's fine. What is hyperreality?
Yeah, so we say once again, the structure of the white hyperreality is that
what is hyperreality in itself, or what is a hyperreal?
Yeah, I'll take stance on white hyperreality, which I'm getting to explain.
Okay, but like absent white hyperreality, I just want to understand what hyperreality is.
Well, the hyperreality is white hyperreality, so I think we'd have to.
Okay, why does white hyperreality exist, or why does it exist?
It exists because of things like anti-black violence and anti-blackness, which allows the possibility for that to occur because it functions on that very notion of anti-blackness.
Okay, and anti-blackness sustains white hyperreality, correct?
Indeed.
Okay, so white hyperreality causes anti-blackness, and anti-blackness causes the white hyperreality.
No.
Or sustains it.
We say
where does it come from?
Blackness provides a possibility for this white hyperreality.
Has this white hyperreality always been here?
What does that mean?
Like since the beginning of time.
Are you gonna like say that same caveman question that Nate Kruger?
No, I'm saying like before humanity like came into existence, did the white hyperreality exist?
I don't know. I wasn't alive.
Okay, that's fine. It's fine. So what is the distinction between the law of abandonment and the law of what was the other one? The warrant justification? Or actually yeah. So what is the warrant for ontology?
Well, what specifically?
Like, do you have a warrant for ontology?
Yes.
That makes a warrant? Okay.
Like, is there a specific card you'd like me to go in depth on, or just like the overall?
Just explain the argument.
Well, blackness is in a position of nothingness. Like the function of blackness.
Yeah. Okay.
Is
So
nothing.
why
the
is
function of blackness is nothing, which means
why?
that blackness. Why? I mean the very question is what we say. Blackness lacks the ability to articulate. I don't know why people shoot black people. Well, I know why. It's because they're black. But like,
okay, so
I don't know
why do you shoot?
that.
Okay, what is the explanation behind it? How does your theory of power explain why anti-black violence exists? Or where it comes from, at least.
Where does it come from?
Yes.
Non-black people who are racist.
Okay, one-off case.
Daniel. Boom.
Yeah, you like that?
Okay, starting on the drop Joey stuff, and then it's gonna be the AC proper, and then all the stuff in the top. Okay, it's sent.
Jervis, how many trivias do you have? Please.
Alright, stop.
Let me know when everybody's good.
Ooh.
already.
It's a true entity. Alright. Is anybody not good?
Yeah, me.
Yeah.
So what's that?
Cool. You good, son?
I need to make sure Chase is good.
Okay. Just let me know when you're ready.
Okay. Alright.
Okay, cool. Ethics was keen operator, able as natural as locality, experience only tells what instance with only PC what is not to be that it's possible driving offering descriptive premises needs to be additional operator, but making monotheistic empirical uncertainty, able to make conceive a dreaming still machine, able to know others experience being the same person, not available, base for universal ethic always because we capable of since people could say don't experience the same people transcendental ideals and what we see as eyes, but representation of reality only operate knowledge laying the truth is perception laying the truth and the lack of subject removes control concept abstractions abilities and deepest contribute with authority factor based only eyes give authority because based on actual why you should be reason because the authorities to use reason anything else non binding opportunity but actually the only valuing acting through reason is also the reason can value intent otherwise we can inflate divide action for example is bringing to academic that one is that action no multiple small action only our attention birth unifies the action based on narrative will action be narrated because by sure action is moral sense of action mean infinity business next relevant feature reason universality non-universal level and ability to appear on your insight if I only action must recognize the effect of my ends may pursue the demand of my value might be recognized by others which also means universal ability access psychiatry and other premises impossible by action freedom to deciding to do so will incompatible and with logically entails willing of violation universal freedom thus the counter methodology negative negation liberation are universal reason entails starting point which we attract from individual perspective to understand the universal use starting point to apply empirical institution even no perm uniquely non-sensible methods of one is assumes the notion of the other doesn't make sense without a plan that once you roll the battle core fronts of performance methodological strategy with fermentation tools maybe one's not the not present they defend a little bit anything else more the burdens on them to forefront their acting the best solution the problem prefer additionally pose practical identity finalize with living on practical identity such as the that presupposes agency as core 92 reflection of the mind for topic conception of ourselves when you deliver something over the desire which you force yourself to act upon the principle of which you determine your actions something regarded as being expressive of yourself the conception of one's identity is a description which you value yourself which you find your life to be worth living called practical identity complex matter your ridiculous identity your obligation spring from which identity purpose as hijacks the role of Allison's judge one practical identity people's performative affinity is a positive justification arguments will need to show that the ethical theory presupposes that will be understood the purpose of thus logically you can justify stand without first one will pursue answer after another you prefer ideal theories than inevitable and phase non-ideal judgment which means every class is art from 14 I don't think what we specify better with some ideal in the background say to be better for different races have equal rights to say that to be more ideal than more to be say close to some ideal and non-ideal the ideal theory nonsense any attempt to non-ideal theory attempts at ideal and even if ideal theories got the alternative are far speaking the rule on fixed principles that evolve in relativism in a particular time or space can measure something with the rule or constantly changing like who is in a standard hold people to if ethics normative before ontology and epistemology ethics are normally justify the inherent nature of goodness and allows us to know what a good role about could be with functions epistemic with anything else the impact justify with point back to the question what we should adopt the role means that people means we function based on justified assumption although things may seem good or true that we should assure for the normal and ensure we verify the truth of every complexity in their epistemological and points out practical reason that demands age should be recognized as a universal subject for a foreign committee with people deemed to the Neil 2000 once upon a time it wouldn't have mattered those who lived in isolated societies that had reason as to why they could have been accessible hypothetical as but today's societies are not bounded ethnocentric reasoning will fulfill those so communication across boundaries that lacks prove that inaccessible to others since our world of reasoning spiritual like-minded our practical reasoning must often be based upon principle or widely accessible practical reasoning may be able to link us outsiders to another traditions offering change for decommit that sense of identity skip that point now and again for independently not defending the topics on universalizable because no one defends the topic going to be created so that's a contradiction because 72 seconds after the logical obligation to be topic of the naval 15 this drives more like John's logical I'm supposed to give your opponents a notice you'll be affirming 2012 resolution sentence the current ones and unfair for you expect your opponents to follow suit that because they would debate that topic after that freedom implies any right to determine the course of the action the state of nature product controls outside public authority rights all sharing level assuming the unilateral well any claim for destruction they need to get because if there's a risk of frame shoot in a penalty terms case that's a 1 in 10 revel interaction in the possible state of nature established individual can never be sick against violence from one another right now rather than running ultimately govern interactions along the breaks up have everyone not case and first running on the drop joey stuff a non-universalizable so only actually read an argument to means it takes an argument necessarily goes away also necessarily takes a trusting argument as far as you're saying that you cannot trust me insofar as I'm you're personally about something that's non-universalizable would be because it creates a contradiction because that's I say you can't trust me also independently trusting this something that necessarily has to go away insofar as if I win that there's a risk that your argument is false and that means that trusting this it goes away because I have credibility in my argument so that means if there's a warrant behind my argument it's not a question about your identity or my identity it's rather a question about logical basis behind your argument. The secondly the induction field takes I'm not the same person I was before I'll get to the warrant later however insofar as this is true that means that my relationship to the K has changed. Relationship to say that my understanding those arguments cannot change, my connection to them can't change, which necessarily takes up the argument. Chris Phillips' argument's pretty fine. I was like, I've lost the strategy and I haven't not read it since again, which means that you should naturally about not about its argument so far as my subjectivity changed from the point of the as to how it is now, and so far as it's the truth, it means that you should necessarily reject the argument because I'm not the same person as I was before. Also means that I literally lost this argument and have not read it since, and so far as it's true, you have not any verifiability more. Also, it's better for me to read anti-black to say anti-black strategy. Almost a self-abolitionary strategy, which necessarily takes other claims and acting me understanding my positionality, embracing and rejecting anti-black is also engaging anti-blackness is uniquely good literature. Crossplay their role about was uniquely good, and it proved that it's better for me to engage in their strategy because it means I would be able to create spaces understanding and awareness within the base space of anti-black, which means that me reading is something that's not necessarily good, necessarily linked to other arts, and you cannot vote on this insofar as inevitably can, which necessarily also takes out the rest of the arguments and along the AC property. Now, firstly, let's go to the line below. First, we go to the Gillespie. I haven't said this contingent on the libido economy. There's no hyperreality without understanding how whiteness views blackness, which means that if I can be that back, it takes out their evidence. Also, libido economy false violence had some reason behind it. For example, the reason why people would be construed as violence is not the reason why they enslave black people is not because it's more economically viable, rather because they're easier to delineate. For example, a phenotype is something that's a very, very big factor, which means that white people could just hide into the crowds and act like they weren't slaves, which means that they would be able to get away with it, which means that there is a actual basis behind it from a liberal drive. Although it's something that's bad, it's not something that's hardwired within white people's mind, which means that it's socially produced in media, which means it's a contingent and subject to change, which means that means that progress is possible. Now, the rest of the arms of the more evidence, there's nothing intrinsic to blackness as to why blackness takes a position. Rather, blackness is human as far as let's say the same properties as humans, whereas other things like animals would occupy the position of non-human. They never need justification or an internal link as to why blackness occupies the position. Now, in the case situation, first the debate is good. First, the survival debate is also come with the way that white supremacists will test black people in the rule of proving that people bringing it up by strategy in debate like space allows us to learn to combat the strategies as they apply their life savings debate as an incoherent debate about the ability to be able to concede authority because you're using a debate as a platform. Rejecting means applying. Either you can make changes in the debate so that everyone's solid. You vote for presumption. You can't change what means debate. It can be liberatory and good change. Also, independently skip those arguments. We're going to go to the spillover. Creates material change like the rule for I think debaters like Lindsay Harrison. You can see Guantanamo get in front of Scott. So let's just civil rights attorney Tommy Curry uses reaching back the resist economy, etc., which means that necessarily proves that debate can be a good motivator. Role change. I'll get to the rest of our ontology debate. First practical reason takes out the libido economy. Subject to defined by material truth like symbolic will divide by instead operator truth. The most body question to ask why you should also identify the empirical consistency, but reason is inherent that necessarily I was not biting. The second induction feels past experience have no effect on causality. Proposition the moon comes. I recognize not only the effect the moon appears last night. Induction feels because it's circular and so far as the assumption the usual whole uniform. We can only reach the conclusion through induction reason based on observation past events. That takes out the entire link chain of the Athens. So far as all their ontology claims are predicated on the beginning and the past for things like the occurrences like the middle past, but to watch that's why people will be anti-black in the future. Speaking of that, in the past, which means that their metaphysical understanding of how the world functions, not one that is philosophical, rather is based empirically and uses induction. Now, secondly, empirical event kind of lead to a metaphysical impact. It's like saying me punching a hard knife will allow your future generation to be damned, which means the only thing we look to is the material balance that affects individual. Also necessarily this means you should all new to in our responses. All tricky things in the app, like the trusting this, are all new things in the far that everything else is incredibly ableist because you're just hiding super small bullets within it, which means that you should be able to give me credibility. Crossed by the rep swing. I'll send out a new doc.
Okay. Are there any operators?
This isn't a tricks one, so there are no operators.
Are there any like independent research to negate absent of free?
We have presumption reasons why you should negate.
Alright, that's fine. Let's walk through the justifications for ethics. Can you explain the naturalistic fallacy argument?
Yeah, sure. So the argument is that there's an is-ought gap insofar as we can only see what is but what not ought to be, and we can't describe.
Is-ought fallacy?
No.
Okay,
Is-ought gap. So the is-ought fallacy is something that's different because it's saying that something is one way, but it shouldn't be that way, or it doesn't mean that it ought to be that way. Whereas the is-ought gap is saying that we can only see what is, whereas we cannot see what ought to be from what is, which means that there's a gap between empirical circumstances and empirical substances between how we can actually derive ethics, which means we need additional a priori premises to make a moral theory or to come to a conclusion about
and then the empirical uncertainty.
Pardon? Yeah, sure. So there's no way in which we can actually know what we are experiencing is or is not real.
Do black people know that when they experience racism?
Our argument is a metaphysical claim as to how the world functions.
Do black people know when they experience racism?
I mean,
if you call me the N-word, would I know that that's bad?
That has no relevance.
I don't care. I want to answer.
I mean, I don't understand the question. That has no relevance to the question.
Can you just explain empirical uncertainty?
Yeah, sure. Okay. So as I was saying, there's no way in which you can know what we're actually experiencing is real because we could be dreaming, we could be in a simulation, and anybody know other experiences makes empiricism an unreliable basis for universal ethics, which outweighs because people could just say they don't experience the same. So that means that different experiences mean that we can't actually understand the
transcendental idealism.
Transcendental idealism is the idea of how what we see is not what is, but our representations of reality, which is a question about perception, which means that only a priori knowledge is a lane to truth, because anything else or it's what guides us to understanding. Because if you remove material constitution, the subject on its own would be able to perceive only through operating knowledge.
And then constitutive authority.
It's the only constitutive thing because asking why you should be a reasoner concedes the authority of reason.
Are there any reason to want to see why black people can access the one in?
Yes.
Why?
Because agency is inescapable.
That doesn't talk about black people. Are there any more specific?
Black people are agents. I made a claim on the line by line. That's why black people are human.
Okay. But within the framing itself.
Sure. So, the argument is that agency is inescapable, so you have access to all these arguments. You're going to stand up in one area and give reasons why, black people can't access this or that, whereas we've given, plenty of claims as to why they can access it. You're setting and pursuing the end of typing on your laptop right now, which literally proves my framing is true. And proves that it applies to black people.
Okay. Did you only read the debate? Okay, these.
I read the 3 ones in the doc.
Are there any reasons we have to win living economy?
Yes.
In this?
In what?
To win Afro-Pacific, we have to win living economy.
Yeah, I made a bunch of implications on the line by line or on overview response Gillespie and Warren. That's why they're contingent on winning the living economy, and why if you don't win the living economy, then that means you don't get access to your arguments and progress is possible. So the AF decision. That movement.
Is Lundberg's 4 or 5 minutes of
5. Or actually, wait, is it?
I don't know. Just do 4. Yeah, just do 4.
Okay, whatever.
Would you take? Oh, you didn't take it.
Okay.
Alf, NC, interest time, independent paper.
We're on the AF. Or is the first off? Does it count as the AF?
Yeah.
The drop Joey.
That was the independent voter.
Yeah, that's at the end.
It's his time.
Oh, okay. So AF, NC, and then independent voter.
Yeah.
Are you gonna do line like Joey's analytics on the
Joey,
afterwards?
you're-
It's not in the round.
Yeah, shut up, Travis.
Yeah,
Where are you
I
starting
was sending a card up there.
Okay.
Yep.
Is the card on the NC?
Yeah.
Alright.
So Josh made sure to respond to the independent voter this time.
Is it about to be the 2 year?
That'll be the 1 year.
Oh, okay. That was the 1AC? Yeah.
Is it just at the bottom of the app or something?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what I always do.
I usually put it at the top. Just go with the bottom. Okay.
It's just the Warren card?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm ready.
Joey and Wygood.
Yeah.
Okay. The big mistake that Joey made is that he misunderstood a warrant AC for a will chase, and so far that all we have to do is prove the internal warrants of the authority of power. The one AC the frameworks always accept the black people. Now, black is outside of the will space time feature. The anti-black provides a possibility for humanity. The world side, no saying no world, no debate. Black is not only black humanity relation, but the only function. There's no solution. Anti-blacks within this world. Solutions rely on anti-black structures like the safety and anti-blacks to form. Anti-blacks make change or structures the same. Rule about the rules. Engage, refuse to top, refuse to make space, refuse to black to tear down. They read an argument on why we should have been topical. However, they received a refuse argument so far that we have to be refused to protecting the blacks. Now, all talk here says that we send the blacks a problematic non-relationship between blacks and being and it's supposed to nothing to blacks. This opens a nihilist path to trouble the foundation of anti-black world. Our method, rest of y'all told to interrogate the positionality blacks and terror reduces. So they can also see that you have to be suspect of anything that's not relying on black thinking because it feels understanding the nature of blacks and woke up from the so tell you the blacks. No, we're not going for the big bastards. There's no reason to fight any Gillespie index. So we're also not going. We're going for living economy. We're going for Warren. We're going for the Warren. Warren to me all the living economy arguments are no Warren relies on. I mean, we don't have to win. We don't have to win 1 point living economy 2 point. Gillespie which takes all the debate to make good arguments. Now they say arguments down to the black people 1 point. Yes, it's obviously intended to the blacks because if the blacks provide the possibility for any other possibility for material good or bad. Next to that, Gillespie is continue to living economy. We're not going for that, but they also say it's like black people because of delineation. Black people are darker. What the fuck? What kind of argument is that? 2 points that we're not going. The Warren analysis that we're going for is now relying on the middle passage. how they're ruptured. So we obviously don't need to win the theory power of why black people were enslaved, because that's what war in our asked for. 2 points you say contingent and progress. You may make arguments like progress is possible, but don't buy this will be arguments so far. Even the internal wars within a war, not no solution within a war will ever suffice, because these solutions rely on intellect system. Now the state will try to pass laws, but the state itself is intellectual that can't resolve. Insofar as the form made the change what it looks like, but the structure is always the same. Means that progress is still impossible. Now you're gonna go for material change, but you're gonna go for material change. You should not buy arguments of non-black people because their psyches never know what black systems, what black people are still experiencing the blacks, and then they go for a practical reason takes a limited kind of warning. The warning is not limited kind of. He relies on a metaphysical view on how the world works. Now you make an argument on why induction fails. One way doesn't always fail. Things like science predictably proved. It's not about consequences of a metaphysical theory. We don't use induction to rely on this, but rather metaphysical theory how the world works. And then later last circumstance that miracle event creates a metaphysical. In fact, this argument relies on Wilsonian analysis on the empirical event of the mental passion, but Warren does not rely on an empirical event, but rather just a theory of how the world is working. And see. Consumption of freedom, neglectly ontological horrors, and intellectual super freedom can be attained. 118. The term of black heritage tension can produce also the catastrophe freedom is for the human condition of caring for being freedom is a novelty blacks really counting freedom, human conflict freedom, but this undermining also the ground ontological, which makes freedom possible. Our metaphysical notion of freedom also reducing the black we must see all other function contest freedom, neglect the ontological horrors, and blacks assume free can be attained. Free black and impossible kind of we might eventually encounter as form of war, and also that's a grammatical and systematic battlefield upon which Trayvon Radisha countless subjects displayed the metaphysical holocaust into systematic swiping the black cause of advances the constitutive metaphysical world advances unresolved no political action when then there's no specific reason why the framework is accessible to black people so far as we're winning the theory of how the metaphysical world works. Warning is one to see who all be inaccessible. You have to put out two ones that clearly anti-blacks are all the end, also the anti-blacks is occurring right now. So a lot of justification makes no sense. That is absolute bullshit. It's absolute bullshit to say that black people don't know if they're getting shot or it's not real, it's flying on a hyper. You don't know. It's obviously working. We're winning the eternal war. It's like that we see black people shot. We're seeing black people start all obviously happening. We don't need to tell you, but the same you use your constitutive argument is circular because they realize you win the framework. You have, and then next you say you're like crowding methodology is good for black people. You can see that the only liberation strategy when black people get your refusal. None of their arguments will ever be good for black people. One, there's no specific reason. Two, that they can see that only black people can be good for black people.
Okay, 4 minutes starting now. Wyatt, you good? Yeah. Okay. The top level remediation of the creation is that you can say that normativity outweighs epistemology insofar as that means is that epistemic prerequisite to understand if you're a role about something that's good insofar as the ethics normally justify the inherent nature of goodness that allows us to know what a good role about is, which means we function as epistemic prerequisites and everything else is just impact justified, which begs the question as to why we should adopt a role about means that we function as the unjustified assumption. Although things may seem true or good, we must always make sure for the normative level to ensure we verify the truth valid by complexity in the epistemology claims, which means that viewing the NC as truth not necessarily should take out the epistemology claims, the absence of a positive by saying that we've won a normative claim as to why the framework is true. That means that you should necessarily reject your method. Now, first, we can set the opposite independently. You should negate towards the non-defending topic non-universalizable because no one defended the topic and the topic had not been created in the first place, which is contradiction in conception. Otherwise, you just vote negative perception because when their method is bad, that means that you should independently negate. Also, the Neil 15 proves how you have a deontological obligation to be topical. This was considered, which means that you intentionally err negative on the same towards non-universalizable. You have a deontological obligation to be topical. Now, let's go when the NC proper for extent the ethics must be a priori. You can see the continuum authority argument that shows that practically is the only undisputed authority because that's why we should be reasonable to consider authority because users read anything else not by binding arbitrary. We're going to over the line by line. First, so you make a couple arguments that they completely misunderstand the NC. Now, you say you make an argument that there's no reason why it's accessible to black people. There's no warrant. However, you have no warrant as to why it's not accessible to black people, whereas we've given a warrant. So your reading of the 118 and the 1 prove that you have the capacity to set and pursue ends and reflect upon those ends. You are contesting these arguments. That means that you have reason. Saying reason isn't accessible to black people. People can seize the authority of reason in itself because that is using reason, which means that black people have the access to reason insofar as that they are human. They have the ability to set and pursue these ends. From a little biological perspective, that means that they are agents. Insofar as this was conceded, that means that all their epistemic suspect arguments about why you shouldn't validate my arguments because A, I'm white, or the trusting arguments means that you shouldn't be because I'm not black. Concede the authority that it's not universalizable by saying X group can do X and X group can not do X, which means you should not validate any of their epistemic suspect argument, which means you should just put negative on perception. Worst case scenario, not on the day because it's not universalizable. None of the rest of the argument. First you say none of our arguments make sense. However, we're not going to go for the empirical uncertainty argument. We're going to respond to your warrant evidence. You say conceding a constitutive authority takes out because you can see that agency is inescapable because black people have the ability to set and pursue ends and reflect on what's us. Which means that insofar as agency is inescapable, it takes out the rest of your argument. Now you say they don't have access to things things like freedom. However, this is contingent on your this is contingent on your ontology. That's how we're gonna wipe you on that flow once you get to the AC. But first, we're gonna win the NC proper. Now, worst case scenario, if we win defense to the NC, that necessarily triggers permissibility. So far as you can see that anything that is not based in a priori knowledge, something that's not contingent, we cannot actually render things that are binding and not arbitrary. We can it's a contingent authority argument, which means that you can literally do whatever you want in that instance, which necessarily gates as far as you're prescribing an obligation to put after the resolution, but there's no obligation to put the after there. You should necessarily just negate on face. Also, the rest of the arguments, you can see you can see the naturalistic fallacy argument. This is just experience only tells what is, and we can only perceive what is, what ought to be, but it's impossible to even offer descriptive premises. So you can see the additional operator premise making world theory. That means the app cannot prescribe an obligation to you as far as it's not based on operator premise. Now the rest of the arguments, the last thing that we can see the performativity argument, which we're going to go for, which means that you reading the 1AC necessarily can see the reading the 1AC can see the authority of the 1AC because you're using reason to read it, which A point necessarily takes out your arguments about black people not being agents. B point means that the NC is a true framework as far as it's something that you should be valid. Otherwise, you could not even read the 1AC without having reason, which means that agency is something that you should be able to value and value over everything else because the only thing that is in itself valuable is the ability to value, which is agency. As far as it's true, that means that you could not read the 1AC without the 1NC, which means that we control the internal link to the advent. As far as ethics or the ability to set and pursue ends as something that is necessary prerequisite. Now, the counter methodology is that you should vote negative to engage in liberation strategy, universal base. Now, we're going to go for the rest of the argument. You can see the course card evidence shows the hijack you're all about because the judges want practical identity, which means that you can see the authority of practical identity. Implication was clear out of the 1NC, which means you do not allow any to do two responses. And the first it was clear that your role not concedes the authority of practical identity, which means that outweighs. And also the argument that was conceded was the O'Neill evidence, which shows that we hijacked that because practical basing is something that's universalizable, and universal basing is the only way in which you can solve things like anti-black is by taking the perspective of all people. You say that argument doesn't make sense, but universalizability is something that takes into account all perspective. If you correctly apply the NC framework, that means that we take into account black people, take into account their oppression, which means that necessarily you cannot do things like, for example, slavery is something that's not universalizable, which means that the NC prohibits it, and so far as it's true, that means we control the internally solving things like anti-black. So the NC necessarily outweighs and solves the root cause of things like anti-black, and so far as it means it's a recontextualization of how the entirety of the Alice born. Now let's go to the AC proper. You can see that insofar as black people are agents and humans, the position of non-being is not something that isn't a human, like animals or an inanimate object, which means that they can't explain their ontology claim. Now, force them to draw a line from the 1AC to exactly where their ontology claims are, or why black people are uniquely in the position. They can see that it's not for the middle passage because they're not going for the Wilderson arguments, or this is not a Wildersonian argument, but they've never given a reason as to why blackness occupies a position of non-human. We've given a reason as to why non-black people are, like, for example, animals would take the position of non-human or inanimate objects, which means that David can see this analysis coming out of the 1NC, which means that, A, we explain what non-human is, and we actually hijack your arguments about metaphysical warrants. B point, they've never given any warrant as to why black people are in this position that is not contextualized to the libidinal economy, which means that if we take out the libidinal economy, that takes up their warrant evidence as to why black people are in this position. They have no line for the 1 or 2 2R. Do not allow any new 2R extrapolations to their arguments because they've unless you can comfortably see a line in the 1R that shows why black people are in the position of non-being that has been contextualized not from a Wildersonian warrant, but rather from a Heideggerian metaphysical warrant that was contextualized by the Athens. That means you cannot vote on these arguments. Now, the libidinal economy was taken out by practical identity. You can see this argument as far as it's true. That means you should not be able to vote on the arguments because practical identity takes the libidinal economy. The subjects are not defined by material truths like symbolic or real, defined by operator truths, which means that they're most binding. Otherwise, you could just ask why you ought to identify with empirical consistency. But reasons here and also independently, that means that takes the libidinal economy argument. So there's nothing intrinsic anti-blackness and progress is something that's possible because things can always change. Also, so induction fields take out the rest of our arguments. Now we're going to go for a couple of arguments. They make 3 responses to induction fields. First is that science proves how to decide. This is reliant on induction. Things like prediction are using induction because asking why prediction will work in the future begs the question why will work in the past. Also, we directly implicated take out metaphysics in the last speech because just because metaphysics has worked a certain way in the past doesn't mean it will in the future. Also, even if we list that argument, that means it necessarily goes away. So that means you can vote negative on presumption because their ontology claims are not make the question of why they will hold true to the future as they have in the past. So the arguments that the past experience have no effect on causality, though, which takes up the offense because it's predicated on past experiences. Look. Vote in the NC because they're not universalizable. They've conceded normativity now as epistemology, which means you hijack their claims. They're going to go for a reason why it's inaccessible to black people, but their reading of the 1AC take that argument out. Also, induction fails means that anti-blackness isn't contingent, or is contingent, so negate.
F and C.
Good white? Good Jay?
Yep.
Alright.
The question simply comes down to whether we can explain why, or if blacks occupy this position non-being. Insofar as blacks will function as nothingness and non-human that causes theory draws the line from 1 to 2 and on the direct response to warns theory of power and how blacks operates a position nothingness that relies on those theory. They say we have no reason why blacks are non-human, but it's because the nothingness that blacks are talking about. Blacks are talking about. We're going to blind argument. They make a big spew on how one point we need a limited economy. Some reason why limited economy. 2 point. Why there's no reason why blacks are non-human. 1 point. You have conceded throughout the entirety around the world, and it does not rely on limited economy. Relies on rather a view of how the world is operated. We not need to win a limited economy claim. We just need to win that blackness functions a position of nothingness that always with the necessity in non-relation of being, which means the black is always a position of non-being. Now they have conceded the black thinking argument, which means that any argument that is not relying on black thinking is not able to confront the totality of the blacks. It's not an epistemic skew argument, the reason to drop it because not black, but it's the reason that here the reason for the framework will always fail to confront the totality of the blacks. And they concede also here the only way to come at the blacks is also cherishing blacks is problematic now. Non-relation blacks between blacks and blacks is being exposed to the nothingness. Black this interrogates the position of the blacks and terror. It produces so far we're worried that blackness operates in a position of nothingness. Nothingness means we need to get we need to get off those here. Next there are they try to extend abduction. They see that we not rely on abduction, but rather view of how the world operates. It's not the thing that the old black people got shot in the past, get shot tomorrow. It's the way that the world is the world is operating. The world is operating. Now they consider a world about a refusal rule. It means that even if the NC is true, you have to let niggas refuse it first. So because only black people can have relation to anything in the blacks. Which means voting after prior question, even if the framing is true, niggas have to refuse it first. Which means niggas have to refuse it first. The last argument that we're gonna go for that notion of the NC necessity exclusion of blackness means that there's no specific warrant why it's accessible. We'll get to that on the framing page. They go for argument how we have no reason why the framing is inaccessible. Potential reason why the framing is accessible. So far they have conceived the warrant to the warrant card. How freedom now blacks position of not being. So far as freedom is related to being itself, and blacks void of relationality. That means that they're obviously not able to relate things like freedom, ethics, which means inaccessible. Which means inaccessible. Next they go for argument why we're not topic was reading the so far you can see the refusal. We have to refuse the topic to refuse the topic to confront the totality ain't the blackness. Means that this is necessity, and obviously. Any reason for overstop is just allowing it back to the fashion. Now they can see that the ethical discourse attempt to resolve suffering violence because the ontological hazards and antagonist that makes it possible. Which means that all reason for some operative bullshit is reasonable now because group all exists because this means there's reason anti-blacks is always offensive. Always such. Now there's reason that permits believe relation the same notion of ethics and operative knowledge. Insofar as that attempts to confront the ontological antagonist without the theory part of the one that she relies on means it's impossible. They make an argument like prohibiting slavery, like that's not what this debate is on. The question is, like, how does anti-blackness operate? Does it operate in a system of nothingness? Also, does anything absent black thinking have a way to like resolve anti-blackness?
Debate.
You know?